money for retirement is a big risk that everybody's got. And so, we view this fitting right in with, sort of an overall holistic approach to risk management. So it looks like from the turnout that a lot of you agree. So I'm excited about that. My name's Doug Reeder. I'm one of the founders here at Sterling Seacrest Partners. I'm looking around the room, I think everybody's a client, so I'm not going to go ahead and talk too much about the firm, but we appreciate you coming out and being a participant in our Lunch and Learn series. We're really pleased to have Kenny Baer with us today. Kenny is a senior wealth manager and managing partner of Baer Wealth Management in Marietta, just right over in East Cobb near Atlanta Country Club. Interest of full disclosure, I'm a client of their firm, and I know there's at least one other client here. And over the years that I've been a client, Kenny and his dad have put on a number of programs similar to this that I've attended, and I always felt like I came out of it with some really good ideas, and he does a really good job of speaking to this kind of topic. So we are real excited to have him with us today. He's going to give us some insight into how the super wealthy and super successful people manage their own money and some of the strategies that they deploy in doing so. Kenny's an avid writer and speaker on investing, and his work has been published in Investment Advisors Magazine, on the website NerdWallet, Ignite Fund Fire, and in Chattahoochee Plantation Living. He has previously hosted a weekly financial talk show called The Baer Facts on Atlanta's News Talk 1160. He had a regularly scheduled segment on The Voice of the Arts, 1690 AM, and has been a featured guest speaker on Atlanta Business Today. In 2017, he self-published a financial book called One Shot, which I think you've probably got some copies up here if you're interested after the program. Kenny's got his bachelor's degree from Elon University and is a chartered financial planner. Although he's an engaged dad of some young kids, he's got time occasionally to play some golf. He's a very good player, and tennis. And other than that, you might find him watching his beloved UGA football Bulldogs in the fall. Please join me in welcoming Kenny Baer.
Should I talk into?
I've got one. You can turn it on. Okay. We can keep this for questions.
All right. Well, so show of hands here, and it's good. That's good. Yeah, that's good. I don't know if some people remotely could hear me or not, but.
Awful long. I expected. Where's his cat? I didn't know you were coming. I would have got you one.
I also have versions of guys on the remote computers. If you can just mute your sound, we're getting some background. Thank you.
All right. Well, show of hands. Who here would like to become seriously wealthy? That's what I figured. Myself is included in that. As you can see here, in a study of 262 successful business owners, roughly 94% would like to have more money. I don't know who the 5.7% that do not, but those are what I would consider the lucky few. Business owners often get a bad rap in the sense that, you want more money for greed, for purposes of greed, or that might be why people think that, you want to accumulate more wealth. But the reality is, most business owners are trying to accumulate more wealth because they want to take better care of their loved ones, support charitable causes, or 12% change the world for the better, make their little dent in the universe. To maximize your success, build serious wealth outside of your business. Personal success, good business decisions leads to business success, good personal decisions leading to personal success, and a continuous cycle. A personal story is why I love working with business owners and why I have a passion for this. an example of a family member of mine ran a very successful privately held business, third generation, here locally, and really through poor financial advice, poor decision making, ultimately lost what they had, because that's the difference between being seriously wealthy and then it can just take a few wrong decisions that can lead you down a road that ultimately had to file for bankruptcy, changed his life. And I just want to make sure that never happens to any of our clients, never happens to any of our family. I just specifically remember sitting with some of my cousins and just the turmoil that caused, which if this person had the right advice, made smart decisions earlier on, it would have never been in that, position. So here is at least how I think of seriously wealthy. And it can be something different, and I'm sure it is something different to every single person in this room. But we think of $20 million or more of liquid wealth outside of your business that you can invest. That essentially, that's enough money that you can start flying on private jets and really not have to worry about, it running out. Even if, although there's some that's still maybe not enough. It's all relative. Owning a business is the best way to create that kind of wealth. I'll go through some statistics. 33% of people with one, and this is a study, over 500 plus successful business owners and so forth, that was done a few years ago. But 33% of successful business owners, 33% of people with $1 to $5 million of net worth, are business owners. The higher you move up that scale, the more wealth is created by business owners. Where if you look at $25 million or more, you can see that it's roughly 90%. I think that just makes common sense to people in that it's very hard to find a job with a salary that's going to pay you the kind of money that's going to allow you to accumulate the sort of equity that it takes. And then this is a study of family offices showing that 9 out of 10 family offices, the source of their wealth was from a privately held business or the sale of a business. And then you've got the lucky few that had inherited that wealth, just under 10%. The biggest challenge is the advice problem. There's a very large disconnect in the advice that people are receiving and relative to their wealth. So as far as relationships with financial advisors, as you might expect, the vast majority of successful business owners are working with a financial advisor in some shape or form. But most of those advisors either aren't aware of or don't have access to the solutions that those wealthy family offices and the ultra affluent are accessing. It's not that they don't have the connections or may know the people. You need a process to deliver on that advice. That's one thing that family offices do so well, is they have a system to make sure that all aspects of a family's wealth are taken care of. It's not a fly-by-night sort of operation. We define wealth management as investment consulting, making smart decisions about your money. And this is something that every financial advisor does, and really all they do. And it's very commoditized. Nobody can sit up here and tell you, I have got the absolute going to get you the best returns of anybody out there. I know more about investing than everybody. That's sort of the gold standard. As things progress and investments have become more commoditized, there's other areas of advanced planning which deal with wealth enhancement, tax mitigation, wealth transfer, wealth protection, and charitable giving, strategies around that should be addressed outside of just investments. And then relationship management, the relationship not just with the client, but relationships with other professionals who are experts in that area, in those areas of taxes, insurance, estate planning, and so forth. And then a process to deliver the advice. And so this is an example of how we work with clients. You want to understand everything there is about the potential, about your new relationship. Not just how much money you got and what do your investments look like. What are your goals? Where are you trying to get to? What are the important relationships you have? What other advisors are you working with? What are your personal interests? Where are you trying to get to? And where are the gaps and how can an advisor help deliver the advice to get you there? So essentially these are some of the other professionals as it relates to advanced planning portion of wealth management. And the wealth management should be acting as the client's personal CFO. The successful business owner is ultimately the CEO and the final decision maker. Collaborating with the other professionals so that you're able to deliver all the advice and all the other complexities that are involved with estate planning, tax planning, insurance planning, and so forth, to make sure that the business owner, the end client, is getting that advice. As you can see, almost every advisor knows who to refer somebody to. They're going to know an estate planning attorney or an insurance specialist, but they don't have a process or a system of a team of specialists to deliver that. You can see the difference in percentages there. This was a study of 800 plus financial advisors. Now I'm going to get into some of the solutions that are very underserved, and they may or may, without knowing anyone in this room, they may or may not, be a fit for you personally. But these are ideas that some of the super rich are utilizing to maximize their personal wealth. First, talk about reducing taxes. As you could well imagine, maybe it's the same percentage that didn't want to become wealthier or are not interested in reducing your taxes, but everybody is essentially interested in paying less in tax over time, paying less on percent, keeping more in their pocket. Only 23% of successful business owners feel that they have advisors that are proactively looking for ways for them to mitigate their taxes. Most feel that essentially their tax advisors are really telling them what they owe, and maybe some ancillary strategies that can save them a few dollars, but not somebody actively seeking and working with professionals to lower that potential tax bill. One way that most business owners have implemented is to have some sort of qualified plan. Everyone here most likely has some access to either a 401k, some sort of 401k plan, which is the traditional model to put away money in a pre-tax basis. A defined benefit plan is a way to amplify that. And only 18% of ultra wealthy business owners have this implemented in their, have it implemented with their businesses. Yeah, describe it.
The defined benefit plan, what is it? We'll give it some names of them that people commonly refer to them.
Well, yeah, a pension plan, I'm going to get into that here just in a couple slides. But so a defined benefit plan is essentially, without knowing what everyone knows here, to break it down in simpler form, a 401k plan where you can put a bunch more money in. Instead of being able to put this year, the maximum you can defer the salary is $18,500 of your own money. It's a way where you can defer substantially more money than that, except it's the business owner who is deferring that money, and some of that money goes to its employees for a defined benefit down the road. Companies back in the old days, retirement planning was very easy. If you worked for a very large Fortune 500 company, you work X years, you get X percent of pay, and that's it. You retire. That's a standard defined benefit plan in a large corporation. Most advisors, you can see roughly 77% of advisors are knowledgeable about defined benefit plans, where only 8% have provided those to a client. I'll go through a quick case study. Small construction firm, 2 owners ages 47 and 41, 4 remaining employees. The goal is to maximize contributions for the owners while providing benefits for the staff, which most business owners, that's really why they're implementing any sort of retirement plan for the employees. This is just the traditional. First off, it has to work for the employer. It typically is best if you have an older employer and younger employees, where the employers have very consistent, steady cash flow. This is where you can really get into some powerful tax savings, powerful compounding of interest. A traditional defined benefit plan, and we're using, this, I don't know, the tax bracket that changed, but it's going to be somewhat similar, would allow an owner to put away $400,000 into their defined benefit plan, which would save them in that year roughly $200,000 in tax. If you start to add insurance to that plan, you can really magnify the ability to put away a lot of money. Now, you need to be making a lot of money and have consistent cash flow, but in the case of these two owners, say roughly making combined about $4 or $5 million a year and trying to mitigate taxes, you add insurance to a plan and you start to see where you can put over $1 million. So this example is the traditional plan, which still has a lot of bang, a lot of bang for the buck as far as putting money away. $400,000, 80% of it goes into the owner's pocket. You start, adding a benefit both with adding some insurance to the plan. 83% goes on to the owner's pocket, and $663,000 goes into the plan. 83% of that is attributed to the owners. So you're looking at still substantial savings in taxes relative to what's being dished out to the employees. And then if you start to add, additional layers to this, upwards of $1.1 million, of which 85% is going to the owners. You're saving $500,000 in taxes in just this 1 year alone in which you're doing that. Essentially, by adding some life insurance to this defined benefit plan, you're able to really maximize what the contributions are, the benefits to the employer, and this is a very great tool for the employee. It's got to fit. Then you got to look at the overall dynamics of the company, but this is a very powerful tool to save substantial money in taxes. That at least as a business owner, it should be explored. Right. Moving on to transferring wealth to family and loved ones. Estate planning may not be quite as ready as you think you are. As you can imagine, I hope everybody here does have it, whether you're a business owner or not. You should have some sort of estate plan. You should have a will, healthcare power of attorney, living will. Everybody here should have that. And you can see that the vast majority of successful business owners have that as well. But since they had it done, 63% have more money now than they did, and 76% have had substantial life changes, so their life is a lot different than it was when they did their initial estate plan. So doing an estate plan or having a will 15 years ago, and you've got additional children or what have you, your life has changed substantially, it needs to be updated and should be looked at consistently. Go to a case study here. 60-year-old business owner realizes that he's selling business one day, done quite well financially, and wants to take care of his children and future anticipated grandchildren, and trying to mitigate taxes. Right. This is talking about freezing the value of a business. And is a way that if you have a very highly appreciated business that is growing rapidly, you can essentially lock in the value of that business today and get more money going to your heirs, more money ultimately in your pocket down the road. The business owner makes a dip with $500,000 in stock to a Grander trust, sells another $4.5 million of company stock to the trust. If the value continues to increase by 10% annually for 9 years and then was sold, there'd be more than $2.2 million additional available for his family. Trust would grow and all the appreciation is passed to the future generation without further taxation. Only about half of financial advisors are even aware of this strategy, and you can see only 7% have provided this to a client. It's very, it can fit. If you've got a business that is growing fast and you're expecting it to continue to grow, this is really a very powerful tool that a lot of the ultra wealthy utilize to, just keep more wealth in the family.
Are you generally, in that example, are you selling it to the trust with a note, like to the seller?
Yes, I mean, so you're so now the stock of the company is essentially in this.
What you're really doing is locking.
Right, you're essentially freezing the value of the business today, so that then all that appreciation is not included in your estate. And you can see, but it's just not a practice that is utilized a lot. It's got to be a fit. So when you're talking to business owners that have $25 million more of $20 million more of net worth, oftentimes it's just something that should be explored. Additional case study: 45-year-old business owner, accident health, liquidity to pay estate taxes, wants to ensure money's available in retirement. Needs $10 million of life insurance value, premium payment, he paid $92,000 a year for life. In this example, for $10 million of life insurance, you can essentially use leverage to minimize what you're paying out and maximize what your family ultimately gets, not just in your death, but also potentially in retirement. So in this example, borrows the money to pay the premiums for the policy. You're paying only the interest, so if premiums are reduced, you only have to pay the premiums for 15 years. And after 15 years, the loan is self-supporting. The loan has been paid off with the cash in the policy, $2 million of cash in the policy, and potentially 20 years down the road, $230,000 of tax-free income for the rest of his life. This is something that, for people with a large estate, large life insurance policies, a way to minimize what's going out and maximize what ultimately is keeping. Most people, in insurance, they don't like paying, the premiums. That's the problem. They see having to pay these premiums for life. If you can shrink that down by using leverage, it's just a smart strategy. And then, most importantly, the tax advantages of cash in life insurance allows you to pull that cash out tax-free. Huge disconnect in the knowledge, and then anyone who's actually providing this to a client. You can see very similar statistics to the last one.
Yeah, I'm in the life insurance business. It's one of my specialties, actually, and I didn't pay you for this. But I think oftentimes that's here, but folks dismiss this plan and opportunity because they just think of life insurance sharing as a bad thing. They don't think of it as an asset. They don't think about these types of strategies, and they really are. They work really, really well on the right set of circles.
Well, and you have folks on the radio like Clark Howard who just say that any type of permanent life insurance is a rip-off.
The industry, very much for the last 15 years, products now are so much better than they used to be. What they talk about, honestly, I think actually factual.
The type of product you're referring to.
Your grandparents type of life insurance, but it's a different one to that. These kind of strategies, I always tell people that the math doesn't allow. Either it works or it doesn't. These are great strategies.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that Clark Howard is talking about business owners with 20 million. I mean, that's not his target. That's not his target at all. I mean, and no, you shouldn't finance a $500,000 term policy that you need for your kids. But if you're looking to if you're a business owner and you have substantial wealth and you're looking to maximize what you're going to take home, what's going to go to your family, and keep as much in your pocket as you can, a strategy like this will potentially make sense. You just got to look at it.
The only thing I think I added that is, I guess most people are probably aware, but I always think about the fact that big banks, Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, Home Depot, every big company in Atlanta and across the country has been using these kind of strategies at a corporate level since time began. And what's happened is in the last decade, the industry has really scaled these opportunities down to those less than small businesses. It's going on a long time. Been working for a long time. It sort of needs to keep it close to our business.
Right. This is, perfect for this here of, you know, where we are today, protecting and safeguarding your wealth. Why asset protection is important, and pretty self-explanatory. You know, why you need it. People, I mean, all the business owners that I know are concerned about either, you know, potentially divorce. I mean, we have the client now going through a divorce where the value of their portion of the business is valued at, you know, many millions of dollars, and you know, they needed to have something in place to make sure that that was protected, because, you know, in a divorce, the spouse is potentially, you know, has access to that. So having a formal plan regarding divorce, regarding breakup of business partnerships, and most people are worried about just being sued. You know, you do something wrong and somebody sues you, how can you make sure that everything you've worked so hard for isn't unjustly taken from you? So those with a formal asset protection plan, you can see the ones not concerned actually have more likely to have a formal plan. Probably why they're not concerned. I'll give you here's an example. Manufacturer and wholesale distributor of musical instruments and accessories, 50 employees, wants to cover risks while lowering insurance costs. These are the potential identified risks of this gentleman's business. We all have risks with, you know, any business, any personally that, you know, we do not have insurance for. We either can't buy insurance for it, or, you know, it might be cost prohibitive to try to insure against that. So like these are some of the things that potentially, you know, risk out there for the business owner. One thing to do, a potential, is to form essentially your own insurance company to protect against those against that. So you have your own insurance company, and that is, you know, one, there are tax benefits to that, and it's protecting you, or there's asset protection in it, and then it's protecting you from, you know, from the risk that were outlined below. This is just the example of running the numbers. You may have heard this as an example of a captive insurance company. You might be concerned if there was something catastrophic, and you can use reinsurance to protect you even further. It's not a fit for, you know, everyone. You need to have the right kind of business with the right risk, but it's something that absolutely, if you are a wealthy business owner, and you will have risks out there that are not being insured, and if you can insure those risks and save substantial tax dollars where you're really deducting, you know, not paying taxes on those premiums that you can see are substantial, you're only paying taxes on the growth, there's a lot, it's a very powerful tool that maybe some of you are familiar with.
And we have a whole separate program on this topic, and typically it's the kind of thing that we would run regularly. So I think we did it 3 or 4 months ago, but look for that again if you've got an interest in captive, or reach out to us and we can talk about that offline with some other posts.
Mm-hmm.
What's the smallest size that makes sense for a captive? 2 million, 5 million?
Well, I mean, in terms of, it has to do with, you know, the premiums that you're going to be paying. So it needs to be, you know, which the premiums are really going into you and your own insurance company, probably about $500,000 a year.
You need to at least be able to take that out of the balance sheet or out of the income statement, put in the captive.
Mm-hmm.
The maximum is 2.2 now.
Yeah, 2.2, what you want.
We have a number of clients that use this strategy. It's very good for, you know, tax deferral. But to Kenny's point, you can design it specifically to cover stuff that's really kind of business risk in a lot of cases that you can't buy commercial insurance in the marketplace for. And the IRS allows it. There's code sections, there's rulings, there's, you know, it's not wild, wild west. I mean, there's a lot of law around it, and there's a lot of these out there. But you do have, there's a critical mass because there's real costs with running it. You got to get an audit. You got to be registered with the state. You know, there's all those kinds of things. You got to have an actuary. So it's, you know, $80,000 a year-ish to run one. And so, you know, $500,000, $600,000 probably gets you there where it starts making sense financially after all the purchasing costs.
I think there have been some rulings recently in terms of ownership of the captive with you could have, let's say, Lisa and I own our business,
they rule adversely to that structure, yes. Because that was one of the big reasons for using it, was you could, originally it was thought that you could set up a different ownership structure on the captive, have wealth transfer, but the IRS has cracked down on that recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been misused, sorry, over the years, but if it's done right, and there's a legitimate, construction, manufacturing, legitimate personal services businesses are really good fits. You need to have, the example here is a good example where you'll have legitimate risk that you need to insure against, and it's a very powerful tool. It can't just be, I want it, because all the, that $500,000 is an example tax deduction. So, and then the growth of that is all this taxable, and it can be taxed at capital gains rate, so you really can even try to get away from it's not taxable at all. But if it's legitimate, if there's reason to be insuring, which there are, if the structure of the company just depends, then it is a powerful tool. The clients that we have are extremely happy with what they've done over the years.
You try to walk the line of, you certainly don't want to claim.
Well, that's another point of contention, is that you really do want to have some claims activity over time to validate that it's truly insurance. And there were folks running them that would build them and manage them for 10 years and never have a single claim. And the IRS doesn't really look kindly on that in an audit scenario. So I think most legitimate advisors will tell you, hey, you want to build it so it's claim, you do
have to have some exposure to the actual risk.
Yes.
Yes. Or else
it won't be deemed to be risk transfer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to be right, legit. I mean, the egregious example is, somebody buys, they're using hurricane insurance in their business here in Atlanta. I mean, they're paying that's for hurricane insurance. I mean, yeah. Very few advisors have provided these to clients that they have for knowledgeable. And you can see it's still it's relatively a percentage of successful business that everyone has done. Tax-wise, charitable funding. These are some charitable gift strategies to consider: will bequest, charitable gift annuity, private foundation, donor advised funds. Briefly, we'll touch on these, but a donor advised fund is the simplest way to establish what is similar to your own foundation for relatively cheap. So if you are somebody who's giving money away, $10,000 or more a year to a charity, you can set up a donor advised fund for virtually very little cost, name it after your family, and you'll put the money in, invest it however you want, let it grow, and you get the tax deduction immediately when you put it into the fund, and you don't have to distribute it to the charities that you're choosing until somewhere down the road. The next step above that is the private foundation, where you're a wealthy family, you want to start your own company that's going to essentially be managed for the purposes of giving to charity. To me, this is a huge disconnect. I mean, most of our clients are charitable clients. They give money to charitable causes, and at least should have a donor advisor. This shows you it's just underutilized. Now here is the charitable trust. I'll give into an example. This is where a lot of advisors have provided this sort of planning to clients. Here's a case study. 51-year-old business owner planning on selling a significant stock holding. He has two sons. One son's in the business and expects to run it someday. The other is focused on the philanthropic causes and is currently running the family foundation. So a charitable trust can work essentially like this. You transfer stock holdings into the charitable trust. The stock was sold for $6.2 million. The $6.2 million would have been subject to taxes, but was not because of the charitable trust. Received a donation of a charitable deduction of $620,000. And then the charitable trust, the monies are not taxed until they're distributed back to the client from an outside fund, and this is the example here. Assuming 6% growth rate, the charitable trust, so this sold $6.2 million, assuming a 6.2 to get the $620,000 deduction, assuming 6% growth, the business owner is going to receive back $6.4 million over the course of the next 20 years. So he's got the deduction. He has a charitable contribution to help his son. He's also receiving income back from his stock that's greater than the initial contribution that he made over a period of 20 years. The payments back to him are taxable.
On that charitable trust, is there any limit to the amount of that initial, there's no limit. Like, if you had a big year for some reason, income-wise, and you knew, you're going to spend this on charity over time, you can take the deduction right then, even though you don't pay it all out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's very powerful tool that it can be utilized to maximize one. You have to be charitably applied.
Sure.
But if you have a cause that's important to you, and you want to part with that, and then create an income stream back to you, it's a great way to do it, for sure. Yeah, there's no limit. There's none of that. If you do give money to charity, now that they've raised the standard deduction up to $24,000 a year, and a lot of families, depends on your circumstances, it's better to pile that into 1 year so you're able to get the maximum deduction over and above the standard deduction. As an example, so if you promise to give your school $30,000 over the next 5 years, and you've got $30,000 today that you can donate to charity, you're better off going ahead and putting that as an example in the donor advised fund and then giving it to the school in the next 5 years, because you're going to get that full charitable deduction today. So the charitable trust is just a way for a charitably inclined person to find out to maximize what they're giving to charity and solve multiple issues with the family. You can see there's roughly 20%. So most advisors want to work with successful business owners. If you talk to most, that's going to be probably more niche or maybe even more specific a certain type of business owner. But the reality is, as we just showed, the knowledge to deliver the advice that the successful and wealthy business owners is a disconnect there. So avoiding financial pretenders and predators. The successful business owners, and I think all of us here, felt like they have been taken advantage of in some way, shape, or form by an advisor over the course of their investing lives, as if they've been hiring professionals. You can see that the vast, the knowledge of, and then the ability to implement the advice that we talked about here. Equity stripping was we didn't talk about that, but just briefly, that's where if you want to decrease the value of the company, you would load the company up with debt. It's potentially, it can make sense in the right circumstance. But you can just see outside of charitable trust planning, there's just a big difference in the knowledge level, which is what about I'd expect from those advisors who've implemented some of these strategies with even one client. The power of a second opinion on your finances. 41% of wealthy business owners, successful business owners, had a second opinion as it related to something medical. And I think most of us here, if they were diagnosed or had a medical issue, would want at least two people to look at it, while only 11% of have had somebody take a second look at their personal financial situation. Obviously not as important as your health, but very important to, I'm sure, everybody here in this room. 65% found the second opinion regarding their medical situation valuable, while roughly 90% found the second opinion on their financial situation valuable. The super rich, the ultra wealthy, those with their own family offices, which typically have more than $100 million in net worth, do this consistently, and you can see that it's almost 94%. This is a study of almost 200 single family offices. The majority of those just reaffirmed what they're already doing. Some moved in a different direction or potentially changed strategy. 57% chose a different provider or went entirely, or they're almost 50% just kind of modified the approach that they have with their existing advisors. Just another unsuccessful business owner. You can see, I mean, there's still a real portion that are just not happy with the professionals that they engage with. Essentially, so, I mean, this is one thing that we do for everybody in this room is also a second opinion. So what we do is look at where you are now, where you want to be, what are the gaps. There are three outcomes of that. One is you're in the right spot, you're doing the right thing, you want to stay on the track that you're going on. The second is, well, maybe we're not the right firm for you, but we will point you in the right direction. And then lastly, maybe it is a good fit for us to begin working together, and that's where we start the process, our process. So that's just something I like to offer to everybody in this room. I also got copies of my book here that I'd be happy to everybody here gets a copy. And that's it. I really appreciate y'all having me, and hopefully some of these strategies are something that pique your interest and at least should be explored. And so some of the experts on our team, like Hunter, who you met earlier, and Doug has been part and helped us out tremendously as far as our clients, our client needs. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Good stuff.
It's kind of interesting, that one chart, how, the strategies are known, but nobody's doing, such a small percentage of the people are implementing them. And that, you might ought to call that the Nike chart, like, just do it. You need to implement some of those things. We're constantly surprised by some of this. We had a $10 million estate last year. One of our clients passed away unexpectedly. Intestate, no will. It was a nightmare. We had bonded work outstanding. We had, records that we couldn't locate. Most of y'all probably have one, but you probably know somebody that doesn't. I'm sure Kenny's got referrals. I know estate lawyers that'll do a basic will and powers of attorney and all that stuff. It's $1,000 investment. I mean, it's not something that's super expensive, and it's really so important to anybody. So if you got people in your family that have not done that, even of modest means, I mean, there's still a lot that has to happen when somebody dies, unexpectedly, particularly about how to move things around, who's going to take care of whom, what about mom and dad, what about the kids, assets that need to be transferred. I mean,
one of the things that someone brought to my attention a few years ago was the fact that when your kids turn 18, they need to have all of their own documents. Because if you have a child who's 18 and who's in a car accident or good work forbid something else, you as a parent, because they're whatever you call data, you can't make decisions for them, medical decisions. And so all those things have to be.
That's a really good point. I have two kids over 18, and I know neither one of them got a will or a power of attorney.
My daughter turned 18 this week, and two sons are older than that. We're going to get it done for her. So you have to make sure to address.
Might be a good graduation gift for each of your kids. They might not think so. You give a case of beer with it,
Horrible power of attorney.
The other thing I wanted to mention, because I really didn't give a commercial at the beginning of this, but most of y'all know us from the commercial side of the risk management. So we're insuring your business, or we're providing benefits to your company, or helping you with your benefits program. But we also have a very competent, thriving personal line practice here. It's run by my partner, Matt Miller. We have a full complement of carriers spanning the spectrum of needs on the personal side. So homeowners, personal auto, personal umbrella. That's another thing that we a lot of times will come in behind our business owners, and we're happy to do like Kenny said, give you a second opinion of your situation. We are not going to oversell you. If you have the greatest deal in America, we're going to tell you have the greatest deal in America. Hunter can attest to this, I think, because he went through it with us.
I promise I'll shut up. That's so good for you. He said, my two buddies driving me through. He said, shut up. You keep your mouth shut. Keep whatever you have.
Don't let your premium, don't let it cancel. You're like, but many times, particularly on the upper end, so people, where we get involved a lot of times, I had this happen a year and a half ago, where I had a client that's been very successful. He's been blessed to be building a house in Highlands, North Carolina. It was roughly a $2 million deal. And he had been working his whole career with a Nationwide agent. Nothing wrong with Nationwide, but their target audience is a $500,000 house, probably, give or take, 1 or 2 cars, kind of middle America. And he had been working with this agent for weeks, getting ready for this closing. And his office manager called me, I think, on a Thursday afternoon. They were supposed to close Friday, and she was in a panic because she asked, can you insure, a house in North Carolina? Yeah, absolutely. No problem. She said, because our Nationwide agent's been working with this for 2 weeks, and he just told us today that the value of the house is too high, and he has no authority to bind a policy. That happens, but we have a number of carriers who cater to the 7-figure home and up marketplace. They offer concierge claim service. They'll come out and really evaluate the value of your property up front. They'll take pictures. They'll send appraisers. They'll really analyze your situation. And that end of the market particularly, there's a lot, you can get a lot of additional value being with the right carrier. And, many times when we do that kind of analysis, we'll determine that the business owner has way inadequate personal umbrella coverage, which is, your excess liability policy that goes over your auto limit and goes over your homeowner's limit. I can't tell you how many times we've come in behind on a business owner and there's no umbrella. So they've got $100,000 in liability on their car, or $300 or $500, and they don't have an umbrella on top of that. That's a huge risk for a successful person. They usually focus on all their attention on their business, and they're sort of, I've been dealing with Joe next to the dry cleaner forever at Allstate or wherever, and there's no review being done. There's no, contemplation of the change in circumstances that has occurred over a career, and there's a big gap in need versus coverage. If you have any interest in that, reach out to me, but who you're connected to is here, and we'll hook you up with the right person. It's free of charge. Happy to look and tell you what we think. I thought this was good. I appreciate everybody coming out. Absolutely.
Answer this off in private. How many $1 million plus liquid clients do you work with?
We probably have 8 families that have that sort of.
No, the folks I've worked with that actually have $20 million liquid there at one time. I don't know if any of them have actually earned that just in their business. They get there once they sell the business. That's normally the case.
No, that's
Your client.
certainly the case. Yeah, it's definitely the case.
There's a whole army of advisors that are trolling in Atlanta strictly for people that are about ready to have a liquidity event and sell the business. They don't even want to talk. I mean, they want to know you, but they don't want your asset until you pull that ripcord. I mean, there's tons of them. I mean, we can't go to OK Cafe any morning and bump into 10. But these guys are actually helping you manage your money as you get to that point in advance.
I got a quick question, if you don't mind going back to trust. How would the taxes pay on a trust? If I were to take a business or asset, put them in a trust, say I put a business in a trust, or it's earning, it's earning a profit every year, who's paying the taxes? Is the trust paying the taxes, or do the taxes have to be paid outside of the trust?
So it depends on the structure of the trust, but for the most part, the trust will be paying the taxes on the. Now, that's where it just depends on what the income is. You get the problem with trust, the taxation of trust, It completely depends on the kind of trust, but you get to the higher brackets earlier. So you potentially you can be paying higher tax rates faster inside a trust than you would an irrevocable trust than otherwise. But there's always planning and structure, ways around it. It just completely depends.
Other questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Good stuff. Thanks for your participation.
Yeah.
Our next event, too, by the way, just keep in mind, if you're on our list, you'll be getting this. Our next program will be about employment law. We've got an employment law attorney to come in and speak. We're seeing a noticeable uptick in claims for things like harassment and discrimination, even in the construction arena, which is where most of y'all spend your time. We've had several age discrimination cases recently. For years, I never had a discrimination or harassment claim in my construction book, and that's no longer the case. And some of this probably is a result of the media coverage on some of the more notorious stuff. The sexual harassment stuff is all over the place, and that just raises that consciousness in the mind of employees. And so, if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for it. The program's going to be on Wednesday, July 25th. Otherwise, we've got some books up here, and I'm sure Kenny will stick around if there's any questions you want to ask offline. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
George.
I don't think I have one of these. You want to sign it? You know what? I have done that. Normally, if I'm picking up a book, I have one. I listened to a former Navy SEAL, maybe, and drafted his book, but I actually sent it to one of my son's best friends who is in the midst of Navy SEAL training right now. They're down to about 15 people out of about 150, so you might make
So I wrote this note down. I need someone actively working.
So right now, so who is
I was at another kind of luncheon there, and it's at a CPA's office, but they have three speakers. You can see all the people book.
Yeah.
So I had it was about how to so I had him sign the book. I chatted with him a little while, but coincidentally, one of my best friends, graduated from UGA with honors. They'll probably make it. Yeah, you got to San Diego and do all that.
once you get to that,
I think he's
you get more manifest, more through that part, like then it's more like I got one guy I mean, you got to be able to that is that one, I would say that it's funny that Bill finds out.
Works for an intern and now he's working on you all ever need they do a pilot. referral standpoint.